Welcome to episode 33 of the Rebel Rebel podcast. I'm your host, Michael Dargy. From Terry Cahill and FUBAR to what happens between the writer's room and the big screen. Please welcome Dave and Immanuela Lawrence to the show. They're a pair of creative rebels on a mission to tell great stories. Rebel Rebel is brought to you by Make More Creative and Drop Bear and Panda Productions. Check out another great podcast at dbpsavetheworld.com. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Is that what people say in podcasts? Hello.
It is. Yeah, because I'm sitting here with Dave and Immanuela Lawrence and Funco Limited. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the oldest company. Actually, Sean Kinley and I started it in 1999.
Wow. Oh, because you used to travel tour with some improv stuff, right?
Not so much. The origins of that company was roving festivals, mostly within the city, like doing like roving entertainment. The Big Head, the famous Loose Moose Big Head came out of that, and different roving sort of ventures. Some improv, but mostly roving.
Wow. So let's give people who are listening a background. I mean, you guys are writers, directors, performers. You both came theatrically out of the world famous Loose Moose Theater, which is kind of kick-ass.
Well, Immanuela's got even a cooler start. She started in Boom Chicago in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, but I didn't, I was the box office girl. I wasn't like the talent.
But you improvised there.
Yeah, it was at that time, Boom Chicago they just had a stellar cast that was just filled with people that are in the industry today, like Jordan Peele, Seth Meyers, Kay Cannon, Ike Barinholtz came out of there. Also, what's the guy? Jason Sudeikis. So yeah, that was my first experience watching improvisation, and it's very much like sort of the Second City style with people eating dinner and drinking beer, and so and then they started offering classes. I started working there right away, and then I took their classes. So I got to take classes with some of those folks. So that was really, really lucky. Yeah.
Wow. So you came from Amsterdam to Chicago?
No. So some backpackers in the early 90s from Chicago
gotcha.
went to Amsterdam and thought that it would be a good idea to start a sort of Chicago-style improv theater there. It became huge. It became really successful. Yeah.
It's called Boom Chicago.
Gotcha.
In Amsterdam.
I mean,
if those who know it, but when you first hear it, you're like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
What a bad name.
As evidenced by the fact that I was completely lost there for a minute.
Yeah, well, no, but I guess it's a good name because then it makes you ask.
Yeah. Well, fantastic.
Yeah, boom means tree in Dutch.
Oh.
That's always their kind of their disclaimer. Their icebreaker.
That doesn't make it any better.
It's not any more obvious now.
Yeah.
Well, that's really wild. So when did you come to Calgary then?
I moved to Calgary. I met Dave in Montreal.
Okay.
And we were part of a little improv theater there that was started by Eric Amber, who is an old loose mooser and one of the three Canadians. He inherited a building on St. Catherine Street in Montreal and turned it into an improv theater.
Nice. Yeah,
so that's where we met. Yeah.
It was a successful pizza place. And then he ripped it down and made it a sort of successful theater, but probably not as successful as pizza.
Well, and you couldn't have both, hey?
No.
Yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, there's Theater St. Catherine, which sort of got started around 2003.
Yeah.
And that's where we met and started improvising.
And then we got married, and then we decided to just go to Calgary for a little bit because we thought we could just get, make some more money, get some films started. You were already, I think, were you developing FUBAR too then?
A little bit. But then I wanted to shoot this Western. So as usual, the plan was to quickly come to Alberta and make a movie.
Right.
And then it took longer than you think. But we did shoot the Western, so that happened in 2009. So we moved here in 2007 from Montreal.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've been at Loose Moose for 11 years.
Yeah, but unlike Dave, I was an adult when I started there.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't quite mature when I started.
Yeah, because you started back, way back.
93, so I was 14.
Goodness.
No, wait. No, not 14. 16? 15? 92, 93, 15, 16 years old.
Math is hard.
Yeah. It is.
That's really cool. So that was back. So it would have been 93. That would have been in the Gary, or was that?
No, that was at the Simplex.
That was the Simplex.
Yeah, it was at the Simplex until I think 96 or 97 they moved to the Gary. Mm. I'm not. Yeah, something like that. I think 97 they moved to the Gary. So I would have been there 2 or 3 years before they moved.
Gotcha.
So I can say I was at the old cattle auction, which was one of the best improv places to improvise.
Oh, it's so good.
Because it was just built for sightlines to look at cows. So and it was in the round almost, so it worked well for improv.
Yeah.
But I can't say I was at the pump house with the original crew.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a ways back.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not part of that crew. They're all raisins now.
Nice. So let's sort of take a step back here and talk about FUBAR for a second.
Sure.
Because that's certainly one of the, it's cult classic.
That's what I'm known for.
Yeah.
People think I'm actually Terry and will work for like a bus ticket and a case of beer. To this day, yeah.
Wow. But I mean, you're getting around everywhere. Like, it seems like there's a huge Terry resurgence.
Yeah, I think that was we just started, realizing that it was a fun, relatively easy thing to do to make little videos with the character. So we just started. Mostly it came when my friend North Darling moved back to Calgary and wanted to, get out of construction and start doing like creative stuff. And so him just being around kind of forced us to make some more stuff.
Yeah, well, and you guys are hilarious. Like, I love the group that you guys have and the writing you're doing.
Yeah.
You're getting lots of play on YouTube.
Yeah.
Are you making the big YouTube bucks now?
No, actually, not at all. I actually, for a long time, like, we don't really have that much action on YouTube because we've mostly been doing social, like Facebook, Twitter. Yeah. That's where we get in the views. But up until our YouTube channel, we don't monetize it. I'm just sort of using YouTube to be a platform to show videos for free.
Oh, okay.
And I like that people can go to our channel and there's no ads.
Yeah.
Because then I'm winning.
Right.
Because then it's like, I don't have to pay for it.
Right.
I have a platform that's free for everybody.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not sure it's going to stay that way, but I like that idea of just using YouTube to show my stuff.
Right. And
I don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So with FUBAR.
Yeah.
And Terry Cahill, which, by the way, I watched Sharkosaurus, and there's an Easter egg at the beginning where Terry gets eaten.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty dope.
Yeah. Spencer Estabrook, the director of that, he was just like, at first he was like, yeah, I tried to get Mayor Nenshi to be in our film, and he said no. Can you do it? I'm just looking for anyone sort of notable. And I'm like, yeah, right below the mayor is Terry Cahill.
Right. Absolutely.
I think Terry should run for mayor.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Terry for transit, Terry for mayor.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll just keep it going.
We'll just keep going. I'm just going to have to legally change my name and then I'll be good.
Right. Terry for premier.
Yeah.
Right. That's got to be coming up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think if I had just like changed the smoking laws so we can smoke inside again, I'll probably win.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
That would be my main platform.
Yeah. Just smoking.
Yeah. I'm going to make you be able to smoke inside again. Weed or tobacco.
Right.
Or both.
So what do you guys think about this whole new legalized weed world that we're living in? Do you have an opinion either way?
I mean, it's less cool now. It used to be kind of this cool thing. I think it's not really a big. I'm glad that it's nothing really changed. It didn't like a lot of people who are afraid of marijuana, like older folks or people who are just kind of ignorant, thought that like I remember there was this lady at Safeway thought, oh, the cops are gonna like tonight's the night that hell's gonna break loose because weed's legal, and nothing happened. Nothing really changed.
Cabbages.
And I mean, so to me, it's like I think it's a good thing just to bring awareness that it's not this, like, to take the stigma off it. Just like, I think if you can smoke cigarettes and drink booze, you should be able to smoke weed. Because I think of those three things, it's probably the least harmful to society and your body.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'm like, okay, then that's a good step forward. And I like that it's trying to break the stigma of like, because a lot of older folks are like, they're afraid of it.
Sure.
Like, they're terrified of it and they're like, it stinks. And then I'm like, what do you think smells worse, tobacco or weed?
Right.
Like if you had to choose, weed's kind of a bit like an incense stick.
Yeah.
Whereas tobacco's a bit like
Chemicals.
harsher. So anyway, but I do think that we do have to be careful about like really young kids, because I knew a lot of kids that were like 14, 15 in high school that started smoking like chronic, like, you know, and there's no going back from that. If you're 15 and you smoke every day for like 5 years, you're probably going to, you know, I just think the brain, we got to be really careful about, like, it's cool to smoke, but I do think you have to be a little bit older, whereas, because it does, I think those studies are right that it does affect the developing brain a little more than, say, having a beer or two. Like, it can get you perma-stoned. Right. And then you stay that way.
No.
And then you're just going to grow up to become an artist.
Oh, that's how it happens.
I'm coming from the Netherlands. It kind of feels like, wow, this is an achievement. We did this in the 60s. Yeah. But I don't think they're getting it quite right. Because I think it's really important to regulate the price. Because otherwise you're not really eliminating the informal sector, and then you're not really addressing some of the issues that go with decriminalization. So I think, but it's a good start. But
it seems to be on par with what one would buy it from a dealer.
I thought it is somewhat regulated. I remember Trudeau was saying it's going to be around $10 a gram, and that's what they're selling it for.
Seems reasonable.
Key. But the other thing I'm worried about is, like, because now the profits from marijuana are in the government's hands, the people who are going to be targeted, and I don't think it happened right away, are all the people that used to sell us weed. Right. The small-time guys who are just like, I'm providing a service for people. Now that, like, I know a lot of people still buy from their long-trusted dealers. Sure. And my fear is that eventually those are the people who are going to get targeted, because it's like, if you try to sell tobacco on the side or alcohol on the side, the government will nail you. Right. So now my fear is that as time goes on, you're going to see these arrests of these, like, small-time drug dealers. Right. Because they're taking profits from the government. So I guess that's the plan. So I would say I feel bad for the guys who provided services to the smokers for decades. Yeah. And now they're going to be the ones who might get in trouble. Right. Unless they can somehow incorporate and, you know, give their share to the government. Yeah. And it's a weird, trippy world we're living in now, because you never know what's going to happen next. And we've been waiting in Kensington for our weed stores to open up. Yeah. And they haven't. Like, they're there. They're just closed. Right. Because they said there's not enough weed supplies, or whatever. But then, you know, news came out that they've got like 3 times the national amount. You know, I don't know what that means. And I know there's people out there who have some. Like, giant bags of it. You're right. Those guys. Anyway, so that's interesting side notion of where artists come from. I'm really curious how FUBAR came about. How you decided that you could make a feature film. Yeah. Because having gone down that road myself trying, it's hard. Like, and the business makes no sense. No. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe some insight on how you managed that. Part of it was just sort of young, dumb energy, where you just didn't really care about what, like, people would say you can't just go make a movie. Like, you can't do that. You gotta, but is usually what you hear, or the problem with that is this, and this. So, I mean, I was improvising at Loose Moose, living in Calgary, like 22 years old, you know, had done a little bit of traveling, some performing, and then started to try to audition for parts in some of the films, or like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, stuff that was being filmed in Calgary. Where I auditioned for that as well. I'm going to try to get some of those parts. Yeah. Now, there was 2 problems. One is that I'm an improviser, so I actually can't memorize lines, and I don't know how to audition. Yeah. It's a fact. I could never book a part, because I'm not like a proper trained actor who can read a script really quick and be like, do you want me to try it this way or that way? Right. So I would go into auditions and I was like that. Probably if I could see those auditions, it would be very embarrassing, because I was like the most nervous, a performer who wanted to perform but wasn't able to do the job. Right. And so I kind of blamed, like, I can't, there's no big parts. In my mind, I said there's no big parts for locals. Right. That's what I told myself. Even though if there was a big part, I probably wouldn't have landed it. Right. But I kept telling myself there's no big parts for locals, which is true. Yeah. That was like a venting, but it wasn't actually a problem I had run into. Like almost getting a big part. Right. But I just told myself that. So I concluded that the only way to get a lead role would be to make my own film. Right. And so I met Mike Dowse, who was making his first film. A lot of people think his first film was FUBAR, but it's not. Which one was it? It was a film called Static. And so he rented his house in Elbow Park for a month before it was getting demolished, and had this script about these roommates. And the premise was everything was fine with the roommates until the TV broke. And then the story was that once the TV broke, the roommates were forced to interact, and they fought, and So I shot that film for a month at nights with Mike. We'd shoot at nights, and I was working. I think I was the production manager at the Loose Moose at the time, so I was building sets during the day. And anyway, that's where I met Mike Dowse. And then on that, I had been working Terry in the Hot Nuts and Popcorn show, and had done him in theater sports since like 96 or 95 was the first time I played Terry. Yeah. So on that set, I was like, hey, Mike, I want to make a mock doc about bangers, because I know I can't afford anything else.
Right.
Because I didn't know much about film, but I knew that we couldn't like rent locations, we couldn't get extras. So I was like, I know a solution. How about we make a fake documentary?
Yeah.
Because then if people walk by, or we can just hop in the car. Like production wise, I thought that would make sense. And Mike jumped on it right away. He's like, let's do it. And the sort of the best thing that he did was said we have to pick a date to shoot.
Yeah.
Because I think his experience was a lot of people will plan something, and then there's always going to be a reason not to shoot.
Absolutely.
So this was like, I don't know, sometime in October or something of 1999. And then me and Paul Spence started writing the script around the turn of the century.
That's weird to say.
Yeah. And then in August 2000, we shot the film. And so we basically, I went to Australia with the Hot Nuts and Popcorn show and tried to make some money to pay for the production. And the interesting thing is, on the way, we didn't make a lot in the we were doing the sort of the fringe circuit in Australia. And when I was flying back from Australia, I got bumped off a flight in Salt Lake City, and they said, hey, does anyone want to give up their seat, and we'll give you a $800 voucher. So I was like, yep. And the thing is, I used that voucher to fly Paul Spence, because he lives in Montreal, from Montreal to Calgary. So that was like one of the catalysts. That's like, okay, we're going to hit the date because I got a flight voucher.
That's amazing.
And then from there, we just I put everything on my credit cards, like the hair extensions, feeding everybody the mini DV tapes we needed, because we shot on XL1, like the old interchange. And then Eric Amber lent us the camera, and we bought a lens that was a little wider for the documentary look, and told Eric, we'll give you this lens if you lend us the camera. A lot of horse trading. My parents cooked food for everybody, and we just borrowed locations and just sort of went. And we didn't really, we knew the beats of the story. We sort of adapted them a couple weeks before we shot. Yeah. And then, we didn't really, a lot of people are like, did you know that you're going to have this amazing film? But while we were shooting, I'm like, something is happening that shouldn't be happening. Yeah. Like this, it feels good, it feels right, it feels funny. Yeah. And most people would say you can't go do that. Right. So, I had hair extensions for a month, and I remember being at my parents' house for dinner and slipping out, past the fucking salt. I'm like, sorry, mom. So yeah, we just kind of went for it and put it all on credit cards, and Mike McCann was our sound guy, and this always happens in making films, is the sound person actually rarely works for free. They're the one person you have to either
their
rent
job
or
sucks.
Yeah.
You're not doing that for
Mike McCann was like, look,
for free.
I'll do it as long as you cover what I would be making it work.
Oh, nice.
Right? So it was like, yep, we'll cover that. And then Gord Skilling, who played Farrell, kicked in his time. Yeah. Melanie Owen, who was Paul's girlfriend at the time, kicked in her time, and she was really great for getting our locations lined up and clearing people, because we would kind of do crazy shit, and then after, someone would have to go up and be like, oh hey, we're just horsing around, can you sign this? Right. So yeah, it was basically a crew of 5. Yeah. And we just ran and gun.
How long was the shoot?
21 days.
Oh man.
And then at what point did you get your dad to take a lien out on his house in Scarborough?
So then Mike Dowse moved back to Vancouver because he was cutting another film, Bad Money, I think, John Hazlitt's film. I think that's the one he was cutting, maybe a different one. Or Looking for Leonard, one of his films. And on the side, he was cutting FUBAR. So a year went by where the footage was just because our ratio was about 50-1. So we shot about 40 hours to get down to 80 minutes, or something like that. And so Mike whittled away at it, and Mike Lemon, another editor, sort of worked away with Mike, sort of, and then we had a rough cut. And so what Mike did is he was also cutting trailers for Odeon Films at the time, which became Alliance E1.
Yeah.
And he was cutting trailers, so he slipped in a trailer to FUBAR when he delivered a trailer that he was supposed to cut.
Brilliant.
And Mark Sloan, who was working there, said, "What the hell was that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just this film I'm working on."
Yeah.
So then we went to Toronto and played them a rough cut of it. The cliche where we were at the 30th floor or whatever, 20th floor, and then they're like, "Go have lunch while we watch the movie."
Yeah.
And then, we went and had lunch, waiting. Wow. Like, we knew what minute. We were like, what are they watching right now? Okay, the bus shelter just got smashed.
Yeah.
Okay, Farrell's dead. And then we went back up.
Yeah.
And they were like, we really like it. And so then which rarely happens, the distributor said, we'll give you a minimum guarantee or an offer for the thing.
Wow.
And then with that, we went to Telefilm and built a post-production budget. And then, but to our surprise, like, people say film's really expensive, and it is. Like, at the time we got into Sundance Film Festival, so we had to deliver on 35 millimeter.
Oh my God.
So we had to blow up from mini DV to 35, which not a lot of people were doing.
Yeah.
And anyway, so then we got some money, but we had to interim finance it. We didn't have enough to cover the tax credits and the federal provincial tax credits and some of the cash flow from Telefilm and from Odeon. And so I had to go to my dad to lend us money. And because he was retired and most of his whatever money he had was in RSPs, so he couldn't actually access that money. So he put a lien on our house, my parents' house.
Wow.
And my mom's heavy duty Catholic lady, and I don't think she's never seen FUBAR, and I don't think she ever should. And so my dad was in a bit of a pinch because to put the lien on, my mom also had to sign.
Yeah.
So we were in a lawyer's office where the lawyer had to take my mom aside and make sure she was doing this on her own.
Oh wow.
Like
volition.
Yeah, she wasn't being coerced.
But she told us after, she's like, I signed it, but under protest. So I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
She signed it, but under protest. Because I think she thought the film, or whatever. So my dad lent us the money to interim finance it.
Yeah.
And I remember Mike flew into Sundance like 3 hours before the screening with a wet 35 millimeter print.
Wow.
Like, it was down to a couple of hours because
Jesus.
When we first tried to transfer from mini DV to 35, some companies had never done it, and they said we can do it. And then like 4 weeks later, they're like, we can't. Wow. So then we had to get this like new technology at the time, this RE laser that would like scan each one, and it was much faster. And anyway, the post-production was really stressful.
Yeah, no kidding.
And expensive. Like, we spent $12,000 on our budget. Yeah. But then like $350,000 to turn that homemade movie into an actual film with the proper sound mix and licensed AC/DC and Iron Maiden and kind of to turn it into a film.
Right. Holy shit. That's something.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Rebel Without a Crew from Robert Rodriguez?
No.
So he went and sold like plasma, or went and did drug tests, medical experiments for money to finance El Mariachi. Right. Which sounds like a very similar story.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was lucky to have my dad to be able to like be in a position to lend us some money to finish the film. And, Mike Dowse's dad gave us a little bit too when we needed it the most.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Sundance, you guys hit Sundance.
Yeah.
And I mean, wow, so many questions. Can I ask about ACTRA?
Sure. The first production, we weren't ACTRA members.
Right. Okay.
I wasn't even close to being an ACTRA member.
Yeah.
So there was no problem.
Gotcha.
We were just a bunch of yahoos making a film.
Right. Now, at somewhere along the lines, you became an ACTRA member.
Yeah.
And you got in some hot water.
Yeah, I mean, they got themselves into hot water is the way I like to put it. But,
yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's a whole, I could go into that in quite length, but basically I landed a few, I did a Subway commercial, I did little bits here and there, nothing major, and I said I don't really want to join initially, because I wanted to be able to work with my friends.
Yeah, of course.
Or my dad, or whoever. And I didn't really like that it was everyone has to be ACTRA or you can't work with. Because especially in Alberta, it's I need to take any work I can get.
Yeah, there's not enough work out there to make a living.
So, but basically then I lived in Montreal for a while, and Gary Burns gave me a little part on one of his films.
Way downtown.
Way downtown, yeah, where I was strapped to a subway in Montreal. It's a little scene. And then ACTRA Montreal said, I said, no, I don't want to join. I'll buy my permit.
Yeah.
But it had been like my 7th or 8th permit.
Oh, okay.
And they said, actually, if you don't join, you can't play the role. Which at the time was illegal. Like, you can't do that.
Wow.
I should be allowed to buy as many permits as I want, but because they saw that I wasn't joining, I was 23 or 4.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better, so I was like, okay, I guess I have to join. And then I was upset because they didn't count any of my previous credits because I hadn't joined in time.
Oh.
And I had to go take a set etiquette course, at ACTRA at Montreal, and I was like kind of choked about it. And I remember
Are you allowed to like drink beer on set?
Yeah, no.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, that wouldn't have worked.
No,
yeah.
you're not. But no, you're not. And but then I remember I took a course at ACTRA Montreal, and I arrived like 4 minutes late.
Yeah.
And the instructor was like, that this is the kind of thing you can't do if you're a professional actor. You can't be late.
Yeah.
And then I was like kind of snarky, and I was like, yeah, well then someone would have picked me up from my house and brought me here. Because they do that. Like when you're an actor, you're an actor member, they transport you from the second you leave your door.
Right.
So I was like, I knew the rules.
Yeah.
And then I worked in Alberta, and it was not a fun experience, but we did a film, and basically we tried to sort of make a film communist style where everyone got paid a flat rate.
Sure.
It didn't matter whether you were taking the garbage out or the director or the DP.
Yeah.
Flat rate, but then you got equity of what you should have been paid in the film.
Nice.
And all the Teamsters and the DGC and everyone sort of said, yeah, let's try it. But then ACTRA, a week before we went to production, said, no way. There's no way you can do it.
Oh.
And, we had, mostly non-actor members. Paul Spence was in it as well. And then, they expelled us from the union. And anyway, there was a long labor board dispute.
Yeah.
It was like court. Where they compared acting to like pipe fitting, where like, how come if there's no work you don't go to the union hall and get a job? And it's like, well, acting doesn't really work like that. Like you can't just go to the ACTRA headquarters and be like,
where's my role?
Like someone comes in and is like, oh, we need someone for the Ford commercial. I'll take it.
I wish it was like that.
Yeah,
cash corner.
Anyway, it was a fairly lengthy dispute, and eventually, the Alberta labor law protected me, which is you cannot get expelled from a union for working.
Right.
If there's no work.
Sure.
So there wasn't any work. So eventually the Alberta Labor Code sort of protected me there because I went to work anyway.
Yeah.
And, if you looked at the time, there were only 2 Albertans working. One on Heartland and one on some other show.
Right.
At the time of our production, which was like 21 days in September, October 2009.
Yeah.
And we employed 45 Albertan performers.
That's awesome. That was FUBAR too.
No, that was the Western.
Oh, that was the Western.
That was the Western.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, we kind of stuck to our guns and we're like, I didn't really think I did anything wrong. I just tried to get to work.
Yeah, good for you.
But then it was a long dispute. Actors not happy, but it's a good union. Actors need to be paid for their work.
Sure,
but I also feel like if there's no work and I got to pay my credit card,
yeah,
I should be able to go to work.
Yeah. Well, and I know that they've got a bunch of different things you can do now, which I assume probably came out of what
possibly.
You went through.
Yeah, some of it they're definitely adapting and trying to be more, sympathetic to the fact that some projects are real grassroots and they can't necessarily pay those fees and pay those union dues and RSPs and medical.
Oh, very cool. So now. FUBAR 2, that was after your Western.
Yeah, like 3 weeks after.
Really?
Yeah.
So were you in pre-production then, or were you shooting then?
We had just wrapped the shoot in Longview, Alberta, and then we basically, I think we went like 2 nights in the hotel because we hadn't been in a shower for because we were living in RVs on site.
Yeah.
I think we lived with your brother for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with your brother, and then we
went
went
up to Edmonton.
Straight up to Edmonton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which that was an actor shoot. So it was very complicated because I'd just been booted from the union.
Oh my God.
And FUBAR 2 was in line. And then I just remember the producer at the time was like, Dave, I know you're trying to wrestle with this actor thing, but put your producer hat on. Now you're the producer of a funded feature film.
Right.
And you've got yourself kicked out of the union. Shit. So it was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, so didn't you guys negotiate an extension of the punishment? Like they were going to expel you after you were done shooting FUBAR 2?
No. We got fined like $15,000 each.
Jesus.
Or something like that, and then the labor board didn't happen until 2 years after that.
Oh,
so it was one of those things where we just.
Oh, is that hard having that hanging over you?
For sure, super stressful. It was definitely a challenge, and it was conflicting because I do appreciate it being protected by a union. Like if you get hired by some jerk producers who are like, I don't care you're hungry, like, we're going, or I don't care you're in danger.
Yeah,
or there are, but it's a tough one because Anyway, I could get in shit for this, but like, you should pull the cast together and then decide if it's unionized or not.
Fair.
That's how it should be, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I know they've got interesting things like resume agreements and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
Where you have to pay like a base, like a very small base, but you don't, it's all very complicated. And I found the whole process from my side because I produced like some shorts and we were trying to produce 2 features, and my God, navigating those roads, hell.
It's quite challenging for sure.
Yeah. So FUBAR 2 gets done, and I want to fast forward a little bit. You guys did a TV show based on FUBAR, as well, and that's on Vice.
Yeah, it was on Vice. Vice is no longer a network.
Right.
Really. We broke the network.
Oh, good.
Our show didn't get canceled. We just broke the network.
Yeah, that's our running joke. You know how shows can get canceled? Yeah. Apparently networks can get canceled.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, the story behind that show is when North Darling, so it kind of ties back if you're still listening, came back to Alberta, to Calgary and wanted to like start shooting stuff.
Yeah.
And we had a 2-week-old baby, brand new baby, and he's like, let's make some stuff. And initially it was kind of like, well, maybe we can use Terry to do like a podcast or something easier than a production. And so I always thought it'd be fun to be like play records late at night and have fans call in.
Right.
I thought that'd be easy. I can just play rock and roll and that kind of evolved into why don't we just like surf the internet in character?
Right.
And then I was like, yeah, well, let's not just do the audio then. Let's film it.
Right.
And then Immanuela, while she was watching our daughter upstairs, North and I would go in the basement and set up, a handful of cameras, like really root beer technology, like because we're trying to screen capture an old monitor like from 1985, and stuff like that. And we started like getting into character and surfing the internet and Skype calling with fans. And then Immanuela was like, you guys need a little bit of a format for this. You can't just go willy-nilly. Like you got to come up with a theme for the episode and some stories. And so then North, Ken Gardner, and myself started like filming what later became Age of Computer.
Right.
And a lot of it, Immanuela sort of helped craft the beats to kind of get a story. And so that was shot in 2014. And then we walked down the road with Vice for almost 18 months to make a cartoon.
Wow.
And spent like a ridiculous amount on legal fees trying to navigate the contract because they wanted to make a cartoon. Or rather, Mike Dowse really wanted to make a cartoon with the brand.
Yeah.
And then, like right on the we literally as the train we came from Nova Scotia because we were out in Nova Scotia for a little holiday before we arrived in Montreal. As the train pulled into the station, we got a email from the Vice's lawyer saying, we're not making a cartoon. Like we got into Montreal to go write it. And they're like, it's off. It's not happening.
Please be advised you are not greenlit.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Really? Yeah. Oh, that's not
lawyery
and we had never heard the word, like there had never been like greenlit conversations. It was just like, it's on. And then out of nowhere comes, you're not greenlit. So then very quickly they said, well, we still want to make something with you. We want live action.
Yeah, they were like, what would work for that budget? And so, because we'd originally, like, Age of Computer was originally called The Basement Tapes, and we even had Andrew Fung in one of the episodes. But so then we were like, well, we've got this. Yeah. And so they were like, yeah, that looks interesting. And then we just kind of went from there.
Far out.
Yeah, we sort of recut it and then flew to New York. The interesting is that the U.S. Vice was kind of deciding what was getting made in Canada. And that's a whole other story.
With Canadian money.
Wow.
But we flew to New York, showed them our it was either Terry's Blogcast.
Oh yeah, that was name.
So I showed them
the Basement Tapes.
The demo.
Yeah.
And basically in that room they're like, let's go.
Wow.
Which almost never happens.
Yeah.
Like that's like a cliche story where we got thumbs up in the pitch room. But the truth is that we had worked on that for like, you know, a good year in 2014. So this was like the beginning of 2016 when we got that show greenlit.
Wow.
So for all you guys who are like, how do you get something made? Well, sometimes that sweat that you put in on a silly project later will be like, oh, that's how you did it. You did something that shouldn't have been done and that was stupid.
Right.
For no real good reason.
Right. That's great because a large part of the show is how did you do it?
Yeah.
And what advice would you give? So just do stuff.
Yeah, and I think if you can reverse engineer it to what you have.
Yeah.
And then really focus on the story. Because if the story's no good, no one cares. Like, and if the production values are shitty and the story's good, it's fine. Like if you watch FUBAR, no one ever catches half of our huge production mistakes.
Right.
Massive. Like we're Tron from one cut to the next, his shirt changes from green to blue. Or like Dean has duct tape on his hand from cutting his hand, like 6 scenes before he cuts his hand. No one ever flags any of our continuity or any of our production mistakes.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of the charm though.
Well, no, I think it's the story. Honestly, I think that if anything I glean from Loose Moose, the story is king.
Right.
Way above production, sound, focus.
So speaking of which, you guys co-write, you write together, you have this genius relationship where you can banter ideas off each other. You're both super talented performers.
Thank you.
What, when you guys are working on something, how do you know that it's going well? Or...
That's a great question. So, Dave's really dyslexic.
Okay.
Tron Funkenblow is a genuine mistake. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so he always needs someone that can sort of do the typity type, the formatting and the putting stuff into words. And so that's kind of how it started. Like I would just sort of just draft things for him, and then I would also voice my opinion because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm Dutch, therefore very opinionated. And that's sort of how it started. And I just think we kind of have this flow where I'll just lay something out. I'll say, can you fill this in? Can you fill that in?
Yeah.
In the voice of the character. And that's kind of how we work usually. When you say, there's stuff that I just write on my own too.
Yeah,
and
cool.
then
Yeah, I mean, also just in general, I think, like, because I'm sort of a tech nerd, gear, you know, f-stops, aperture, you know, just like, I'm more like better suited for like production stuff and trying to like say, well, I don't think that's feasible, or it might be easier to shoot this way, or whereas Immanuel is much stronger in terms of like format, what you actually need, a lot of storycraft and that kind of stuff. So sometimes I will get fixated on tech stuff and she'll bring me back to like, well, what the hell are you actually going to shoot?
Right.
You know, so that's always good to know. Like, and then, yeah, and also just like hitting being able to study a format and being able to go, okay, now I know how to write that format.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, like your shorts right now, your the news. So you do that one thing with North Darling, right?
Real News Canada.
Real News Canada, which is so good. And your lower thirds are hilarious, by the way. That's always crack me up. And then Terry for Transit, like those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Production values off the hook. Like it's really good.
Yeah, that's because I've been sort of more focused on that, like even since Age of Computer, like before when we shot the demo, and so, you know, that's something we're striving for, is to have it like look better.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, when did you get your new show?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, cool.
There was a fan on the FUBAR Facebook group that was like, when we posted the Terry for Transit video, which has all these like references to Calgary, like the number 10 and Boness.
Number one.
Oh, the number one.
And that up.
Goes from Boness to Forest Lawn, right past the courthouse.
Right. And so some of the American fans were like, this show is like way too focused on Canada. Like, we don't get any of these jokes.
Yeah, this show.
And we're like, it's just a video.
That's outrageous. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I think like the things we figured out, and again, for people looking to make stuff to put on the internet, is do it, because every time you get the immediate feedback, so you know what to work on. And one of the things we figured out is sort of where to place the jokes is really important in an internet video. Like, you got to have one pretty quick right off, or people just pause it or turn it off, and also to give video structure, like give them 3 beats,
Right.
a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Yeah.
and then you engage people much better than just like random stuff.
Random,
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
People like stories.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, even if it's a 30-second story, it should still kind of have a structure. Or I
it's
find
like
it
lightning
helps.
rounds at the Moose, right? If you can pull off a beginning, middle, and end in 60 seconds,
Yeah.
it's gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah, lightning rounds are for improv nerds are like short 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scenes.
When the competition's too tight, you
Yeah.
just do quick lightning rounds.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you guys right now?
Good question. We gotta, as always, there's like 6 pots simmering.
Yeah.
Some that will pay the bills, some that don't, some that cost money, and you never know which ones are actually going to cough up and sort of. But if you don't have enough out there, then you can get yourself into trouble.
Right.
So, we've been working for a long time, and we're sort of getting closer to getting into production of a female version of FUBAR
Oh, cool.
called Cougars,
Right.
and so that's sort of like
Are you?
Emmanuela's.
Yeah,
the
we wrote
writer.
it together.
Yeah.
And,
And
we'll
so-
have Tara Hazelton play one of the leads. So we
And-
shot a proof of concept, but
Nice.
still, like you said, it's really hard to get a film made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got to get the financing and everything in order.
So there's that. We're working on like a couple different.
You got a video game coming out?
Yeah, there's a FUBAR video game coming out.
What?
Like one of those mobile games.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, it's the animation's pretty cool in it, so that's coming out. We've been working on that.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
There's there's something that I've always been like trying to crack, which is like sort of. I always find that the stories behind an improvisation company are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And improvisation's kind of more topical these days.
Yeah.
So we shot a demo a long time ago for like kind of like a Gary Shandling behind the scenes of an improv company style show.
Oh, fun.
But we didn't quite hit it right. So I'm still working on that, like sort of a mock doc style show about an improv company.
We also have a mockumentary that we made with Kid Koala. He's like a Montreal scratch DJ, and it's a mockumentary about an octopus trans DJ. And
Yeah,
so
it's a puppet.
it's this puppet, and we went on tour, and Kid Koala composed sort of a mock trans track.
Wow.
And we're kind of hacking on trans music a little bit.
Yeah.
So we went last year. We went on tour all across the states, and every show we would shoot the octopus trans DJ,
Sure.
and we
Yeah.
would interview the people in the audience and get
And
some
get the
great
crowd to-
stuff.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that's outstanding.
It was again one of those things that this shouldn't be happening.
Right.
And we're cutting it right now. We've got like, and we knew we weren't going to get the whole film.
Yeah.
But Eric / Kid Koala was like, we're doing this big tour. We got a tour bus, so you guys should come on, and we'll use these live opportunities to grab shots that would otherwise be impossible. Right. So we have a crowd of 800 people sort of booing the octopus when we need them. Right. Or a crowd of 800 people, like doing trance movements in slow motion, because Eric had this idea, instead of shooting slow mo, just get everyone to move slow.
Wow.
Which was really cool. And so we're working on that. There's still there's more, there's other things, but also part of the problem sometimes is having too many and not getting like
Sure.
focused in. So those are, I think, the main ones.
Yeah, we're also doing like little videos, promotional videos for businesses in town.
Oh, okay.
Like, just for the internet.
Yeah. Like
Also-
corporate.
Well, so but
Yeah.
it's more just for practice of like, can we take a concept, and execute it and make the production values look okay? Like, it's not a hot, like it doesn't make much money, but it's also more for like gaining the experience of like,
Right.
Because after you do like a little, like we did a Christmas commercial for the Inglewood Business Association.
Oh.
And it's kind of funny, and it's like, it's not a conventional commercial.
Yeah.
But the production experience gained from it was kind of worth it. Like,
Right.
It didn't pay us much, but it was like, oh, we did a little ad.
Right.
Now that's done.
That's cool. And I recently saw some stuff he shot at Talnia. Which was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like the close-ups of the machine
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like at this point, it's like, I think it's good to just keep busy, and anytime you do a shoot or a production, even if it's a 30-second spot, you're gonna kind of learn something. And it keeps your skill set up. It's just like improvising. You keep improvising.
Yeah.
If you haven't been in the edit suite in a year and then you sit back down, it's like, oh, where are my hotkeys? Like,
right.
But if you're like, oh yeah, we're kind of constantly trying to just grind stuff out.
Yeah.
Whether it's a long cut of a mockumentary or whether it's a short internet video for no good reason.
Yeah.
Or whether it's something for like Pin Bar is a new bar in Calgary, a pinball.
Yeah. On the 17th.
Yeah, so we just did a little commercial for them.
Did you? Oh, that's so awesome.
And it was really fun. And it was like, I've never shot food before, which is really hard. Like, to shoot food that doesn't look gross, even if it's delicious, is not easy. And I mean, I don't think I knocked it out of the park. It's still a learning curve, but it's the first time I've ever tried to shoot a burger.
Interesting. Have you been asked to add Terry into things for companies?
Sometimes.
And do you do it? And does Terry charge a fantastic royalty?
I'm getting smarter at that.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at negotiating, so I'm trying to get better at that. Pin Bar, my friend Dirty Donnie, look up his artwork. It's sick.
Yeah.
Does the graphic design for pinball machines like Aerosmith and Metallica. Way. Those are Dirty Donnie's artwork.
Cool.
And he has his own for Pabst Blue Ribbon, the Can Crusher game. So Donnie did those. So Donnie was in town because he's a friend of Arland who owns the Pin Bar.
Yeah.
And all of Donnie's artwork's up at Pin Bar. So when Donnie was in town, we're like, let's shoot a video.
Nice.
So Terry showed up at Pin Bar to hang with Donnie. And then we revealed that, in fact, Terry is obsessed with pinball and didn't even talk to Donnie.
Wow.
Because he was so obsessed with pinball. And so that, again, was for fun, but because we like Pin Bar and we like Donnie, we're like, let's go. Who cares? Like, there was no money for that, but it was... and so in the new Pin Bar ad, there's one little cameo of Terry there. Mostly because I think Calgary should have a couple cool places to go to. So
yeah, totally. We went there. Oh my God, how long ago? I don't know, a couple months ago, and just loved it. I went there, I think, on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And you can play all the games for $10 or something.
Yeah.
Like, it was
good.
Wicked.
Yeah, and the sandwiches are good, and I like that place a lot. So, but yeah.
I was talking to Pat, Pat Kelly from This Is That, Peter and Pat. So Pat Kelly runs he does videos with his partner.
Oh, okay.
I think their company's called Kelly and Kelly.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think in Calgary is still kind of tricky is that companies aren't really ready yet to pay a lot for corporate videos because they're still kind of well, first of all, there's not a lot of headquarters here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just mom and pop places and then also I think that they're just a little bit more ahead in Vancouver with that stuff where they know that the internet's where you can get a lot of bang for your buck when you're advertising.
Totally. Is it fair to ask what a good price is? I've got my opinion.
It's a tough one because it depends who you're talking to. Because some people will they think that it's like you just show up with your handy cam and it's like it looks easy. But I mean, I didn't really know what to charge, and then I started looking at because there's a vendor list you can get on for the big oil and gas companies. If they want to hire a production company, they go to a vendor.
Oh, cool.
So you got to get approved.
Wow.
And the rule of thumb for corporate videos, at the bare minimum, is $10,000 a minute.
Wow.
For a good if you're gonna actually write the thing,
totally.
Show up with the gear,
pre-production, production, post-production.
Yeah, all the steps to it. But people get they say that and they're like, but then if you look at a feature film, let's say it's 100 minutes.
Yeah.
For a feature film to be $1 million is not a lot.
Right.
Right. So why would 1 minute be any different?
Yeah.
It should be more because you have to pull the resources just to do this one minute.
Right, but my kid can do it with his cell phone, so why would I pay you $10,000 for that? Yeah. I have this argument a lot in my agency where you're talking about price and you're just you're not going to do it for any less than X. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it. You can edit for free.
Yeah.
You can lend your gear for free, and you can But for me, it's but you say that to some people and they're like, see you later.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a video.
Right.
And they're like, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, and also it's changing the mindset. The eyeballs are on the small screens, not the TV screens. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, would you pay $10,000 for a TV commercial? Probably.
Oh, they're going to be spending $100,000.
Yeah, easily.
That's not even you look at a proper commercial and it's $100,000.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to get anything for less.
Yeah. Yeah. We costed out. We shot this short called Sundowners. It's a 3 minutes with about 2 minutes of credits at the end because we asked a lot of people to do it for credit, right? Just to be on it and do it and help out. And Calgary's great for that.
Yeah.
But when I costed it out, it was at least, if we paid everybody scale, $75,000.
Yeah.
For this short film.
Yeah.
We shot it for $7,500, like cash out of pocket.
Yeah.
But man.
Yeah, it's well. Anyway, these days it's like you can do good stuff with cheaper gear, but again, it's the story.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
For me, the value of the writing, the concept.
Absolutely.
If you have a good concept, that's worth $10,000 on its own.
Yeah.
And if it spreads and it's funny, like.
Oh, it's incalculable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys are absolutely inspiring. I just love watching the stuff that you do and the stuff that you put out. Again, I love watching you guys on stage. It's a total thrill to watch you guys work.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you have any last tips, like 1 or 2 tips that you could say before we punch out of here for people that are maybe not making films, but just going on a creative adventure?
Well, it's like the motto at the Loose Moose Theater, generally for improvisation, and not for everything, but generally if you say yes instead of no, better things will happen.
Truth.
Yeah, I think this is just something I thought of today. I think a lot of people are quick to flock to Toronto or Vancouver when they have creative ambitions. But if you stay or if you live somewhere where there isn't that intense pressure and competition, sometimes that's better for your creativity, where you might, get a great idea for a TV show and you're up and going, rather than where you're around people that seemingly are more successful or getting gigs and auditions and stuff, and then you might, lose some of that creative spark that you could get when you live just in a completely different place.
Absolutely. You guys kick ass. Thank you so much
for
coming
our
on the
pleasure,
show.
man. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. On our next episode, Callum Lycan joins me. He's a fine Scottish fellow making his mark around the world, telling stories and taking people on tours. Special thanks again to EMRE Courts for the great music, and of course, Drop Bear and Panda Productions. Check them out at dbpsavetheworld.com, and don't forget to subscribe.